Hi, and welcome to What's the Worst That Can Happen. I'm your host, Abby Whitaker, and today I have two of my favourite people on the show, Brooke and Dale Fenwick. They are the founders of Fenwick Collective and all-time goals in all facets of life, except for the accommodation fails. We'll keep that one off. If you know, you know. I am not going to do these guys injustice. I'm going to get them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about Fenwick Collective, and then we'll go into their journey.
Oh, do you want to start?
You start.
Okay. Well, my name's Brooke. I am the co-founder of Fenwick Collective, which is an accounting and business advisory firm here on the Sunshine Coast. We specialise in everything from, starting people out in their business journey to large-scale businesses and helping with advisory, tax planning, tax saving, all of that kind of stuff. We're really passionate. I think it's been a really big passion project for us as to just being a bit of a gap in the market where we're not just an end of financial year tax sign off. That's a byproduct of all the support we've done throughout the year. So, that's a little bit about Fenwick Collective. What do you want to add to that, Dale?
I think probably one thing we're proud of with Fenwick Collective is that probably like we focus particularly on, all clients, but probably like having our female clients in particular feel really comfortable, being in the space, the way that we communicate with them, the way that we have laid out the space. We're super conscious of making it a really inclusive environment for everyone. I think accounting firms and finance firms can be fairly, masculine, like in the way that they're, the colours that they use and the language they use and the design of the actual firm. So I think we were pretty conscious from day one to have it a pretty, inclusive firm, but also not super feminine either, it's inclusive for everyone,
Yeah, and just in case anyone doesn't know, the space that we are actually sitting in right now is Fenwick Collective. So a lot of the podcast episodes have been filmed here. It's obviously not your average accounting firm. I would love to go a little bit more into your journey and what you just mentioned, Dale, about it being inclusive and a comfortable place for not only males but females as well, and why that is such a big value for you guys.
Yeah, well, probably first of all for our clients, one thing, obviously, as we were building a client base, we were taking on new clients and we're getting feedback from every single client that we took on. And for, there's a lot of reasons that people leave their accountants. For a lot of our female clients, one of the things was, they were sitting in front of an old, male accountant who, couldn't relate to them, didn't understand what they were talking about, didn't believe in their dreams.
Or would ask the husband questions about the wife's business, and which still blows my mind. But that kind of, I guess, conversation. Yeah. And I think as well, as a female founder myself, I deal with issues still to this day about not getting the same respect as what Dale does. And so for us, again, that passion and making sure that we really made this space comfortable, but also our advisory made sure that both males and females could really feel safe and respected.
And it is the same with the guys as well. Like even it might not come with the same intimidation necessarily, but even just the way that they're communicated to as well. It's the same answer. It's being, not using, lingo that they don't understand or are intentionally overcomplicating something that isn't really that complicated, So actually simplifying, that advice and making it something that anyone can actually understand.
Making it palatable, essentially. That's something that Jordan and I have both found since we came on board with you guys, is that everything you do is palatable, and now we look forward to our meetings. Like Jordan's like, oh, when's the meeting with Dale? So yeah, I totally get that. So with your so with that value that we're just talking about, I obviously know a little bit of your history. Can you tell us a little bit about how Fenwick Collective came to be?
Probably actually just to strip it right back. Dale and I are husband and wife and we met in accounting. So Dale was my manager in my first job. Not controversial. Sips tea. And we very aligned. Our values are very much the same. We have different skill sets that complement each other. Our strengths and weaknesses, I should say, complement each other really well, which is why we've always had such an incredible working relationship. But so we started working together, like over 10 years ago now. And we had a really great experience where we went and ran a Gold Coast accounting firm. And it was a client base that was significantly falling to bits with the advisors that were in there at that time. And our job was to come in and figure out our own style of service and try and resurrect that and grow that. So that gave us incredible skill sets because it was fight or flight. You know, like our job was our wage was contingent on the succession of this client base. So very stressful, but also lots of valuable lessons at 25 and 27, like being responsible for a whole new base where we knew no one. So that was a great experience. But throughout the journey, there's always been a significant, pay gap between Dale and I, a different progression expectation for Dale and I. And like I said, like we both have incredibly different strengths and weaknesses that complement each other. But at the end of the day, I think Fenwick Collective is the success of what we have now is a combination of both of us equally. And so for us, like we went through, we were growing our client base. We were absolutely grinding to achieve partnership in other places, but there was always just this barrier to entry for us because of me. So Fenwick Collective was born through...
Well, because you're a female.
So Fenwick Collective was born through, I guess, just not having a seat at the table and having a voice where I deserved it. And so for us, we kind of were forced to do something about it. And as a risk-adverse person, Dale wanted to do this 6 years ago now? And I was like, absolutely not. I need my X amount every week to come in to cover the bills and I can't do it. What if it doesn't work? But it's the best thing we ever did.
I think in the end, probably it was good that was forced upon us in a way because we couldn't get that respect and particularly Brooke, I would say, couldn't get that level of respect that she deserved. So in the end, kind of it forced her hand in particular to say, well, we know that we're good enough and we know that we're bringing something different to the table. And if we can't get the respect here, then we'll do it ourselves. And in the end, like Brooke said, you know, she was risk averse and didn't want to take the jump. But, you know, if we didn't take the jump, she wouldn't have been as happy, you know, doing what we're doing here, you know, elsewhere because, you know, we've got full creative control of what we do. We've got full control of how we want to service our clients and how we want to treat our team and how, you know, and you wouldn't have that elsewhere. So as much as at the time it felt really shitty not getting not getting that respect, I think actually having our hand forced, in particular Brooke's hand forced, I think was actually the best, you know, way to go about it, I guess.
And I think that's a good point in that the being different. Like I think, not to toot our own horn, but I think if you look at the market, I think we're very different in the way that we portray ourselves in the market, the way that we advise, the way that we, like, I guess, treat our staff in particular in our industry. Like I'm so proud of us now as a risk-adverse person continually trying to like challenge the status quo for what is expected from an accountant here, being young, you know, being female. I think we've had a lot of success by trying to continue to be different, which is what has always been such a barrier. That was met with comments like immaturity or the word no, which I hate the word no. So yeah, I think it's.
Or Brooke being too emotional.
Yeah, being too emotional.
Which when, without going to specific examples, like when I'm emotional, it's me being a strong male leader, and when Brooke is emotional, it's her being an emotional, woman kind of thing.
Yeah.
Problematic.
And I think actually being emotional, Brooke probably is more emotional than me, and I think that's actually why her clients love her so much, is because she cares so much,
And it's passion, emotion. Like you can be emotional, but generally like that correlates, for me at least, it correlates to like really giving a shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, am I allowed to say shit?
Yeah, you can swear as much as you want.
But like I think like that emotion correlates for me to passion and really genuinely caring about my people, like, and being able to support them. I think it was just always such a big misunderstanding for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I feel like, and this isn't to say that you're not an empath, Dale, as well, but, I'm an empath, you're an empath, and I think that when you can really, you get emotional when you can empathize with people and you can put yourself into their shoes and their seat and really like feel what they're feeling, and that's what makes us emotional.
Yeah.
So, that's actually a superpower.
I agree.
That's great that you guys have recognised that as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm very lucky that my business partner, being Dale, he's incredible, and the way that he deals with like females in business and myself as a female in business, like I'm heard, I'm appreciated and respected for, 2 a.m. thoughts where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've just had this thought for a client, yada, yada, yada. I've got it. Like he just really kind of takes it in his stride and appreciates that as one of my strengths.
Yeah.
Well, I think having that balance is the reason why we've been so successful, is because probably, I'm more, say, analytical than you, but then, you'll, maybe something that in my eyes would create more profit for us. You're like, yeah, but that isn't going to be received well by clients because of X, Y, and Z. And, like bringing that emotion into it, I think is a strength, not a weakness, like.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, the core of what we're doing is to help people.
Yeah.
And if that means we compensate on margin, I don't care.
Yeah. Love it. So with that in mind, what would be your, as a company, and I feel like you guys as a company, your values are similar to me. Your business is your personal values. Like it all comes into one. What are your values here at Fenwick Collective?
We should have sat down.
I feel like this is a moving piece actually, because as we've matured in business, I feel like it is changing, and that's actually okay.
Yeah,
I feel like that's okay because like we're moving with the maturity of our clients and the market and different pressures externally. But I think at the core of it, it's always been about empowering and educating people. Whether you're an individual, a startup business, you're 10 years in, you're 20 years in, you're in the way where you're transitioning to retirement. At whatever stage, you're never too big or too small for us. Like we just genuinely want to empower and educate people to be able to not have that financial stress that keeps them up at night. If there's anything we can do to minimize that, like that's really important to us. But similarly as well is just being someone in your back pocket to bounce ideas off. I think being able to see the evolution of a conversation through that like education piece and support piece is everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
Like that's my words. What's yours?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the same, and not just our clients either. That's also for our staff as well. Like trying to empower them, like wherever they want to get to with their career. If that's what they want to become a partner here, well, let's map that out.
Yeah.
If they want to be the best,
bookkeeper there is,
then great. Let's figure out what that looks like for them. So empowering them to, there's no right answer. Like, or depending on what stage of life they're in, that can change for them as well. So I think empowering our staff as well, and even referral partners that we work with, and yourself, like kind of anyone that we work with in the space, like trying to, whatever it is that they want to achieve, like, and it doesn't have to be make $10 million.
Yeah.
It can be have enough money and then have more time with the family. And that's also like, that's the right answer as well. It's like, it's empowering people to do whatever they want to do with their life,
And I love that you empower people in those different ways. You're not just like, oh, this is what I see as success. This is what you have to do. It's like if someone comes in and goes, oh, I really want to make $10 million, you're like, okay, how do we do that? Or if someone says, oh, I really just want to work like a 10-hour week but still be able to provide this for my family. Okay, how do we do that? And that's really cool that you're able to, I think in any profession, for me, I've thought about this a lot, is if someone is able to step out of their own experience in their own shoes and listen to their client and then provide a service that aligns with their client, I feel like that's a really big superpower.
I think who are we to, create a little box as to what people should aspire to be, aspire to achieve, or, what they enjoy. Like, I think everybody is so different, and I don't care about what that goal is really. Like, if that's what's going to make you happy, feel fulfilled, and that's what you're chasing, well then, like, who are we to sit there and go, well, that's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I think that's what makes us all really special, is by having our own different unique ideologies and goals and aspirations. So
yeah. I love that. So good. Dale, I want to ask you a question because you, when you talk, you're heard, and you are too, Brooke, but just talking to Dale now, because you don't. This is my perspective or my observation, is that you don't just speak to speak. You speak like when you sit back and you observe and you watch and you listen, and then if you feel necessary, you speak, and it's always with authority and power. I would love to hear from you what it's been like watching Brooke in this journey, not only as a business partner but also as, husband. Feel free to get emotional.
I think one of the things that's frustrated me, like, since we've been kind of, working together, building a client base, is Brooke not getting taken seriously, and also sometimes Brooke, I guess, submitting to that in a way, like, and not wanting, not speaking her truth because she didn't want to come across as
she didn't want to ruffle feathers.
And sometimes that would frustrate me, but also, like, I could understand that I don't understand what it's like to be her and be like, I'll walk into a boardroom and, like you said, like, I'll just get heard because I'm a male, and now once you kind of become a certain age, then people take you seriously, as a guy. Whereas, like, for Brooke, like, it's been super frustrating, seeing where we both bring different things to the table, but what she brings to the table is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than what I do at times. And seeing her not taken seriously was frustrating for me, but also seeing her not be able to put her best foot forward was sometimes just as frustrating, So that's been super fulfilling as we've kind of created our own firm, and seeing her really, even when we very first started, like, you could still at times she wasn't confident in making decisions, or still was cautious of coming across as, too emotional or too forceful. Where and over time she's kind of, I guess, gotten rid of that. I don't think you probably feel like that anymore on the whole. So that's been don't know if that answers your question,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's been really fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I could imagine that would have been frustrating not only in the workplace but also obviously there was a period of time where you were not together and you were just working together. But when you go home and, you know, probably experience the ramifications of the way that she's been treated in the workplace and that she has responded in the past, I'm sure that would have been like quite difficult to support from work, support from home as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's been hard, I guess, for us because I guess if we weren't husband and wife, probably at times I would maybe speak out a bit more, but also I've been conscious that I didn't want to look like I was coming from a place of being a defensive husband either. So it's kind of like, you know, sometimes that's been hard for me to navigate as well, I guess. Like when, you know, she is being treated unfairly, but I can't go over the top doing too much about it.
Yeah, true.
Anyway.
It's like a very, it's like a balancing act, I guess. Yeah. I didn't think of it from that perspective, actually. Yeah.
Because then that probably does more damage.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
it doesn't really help.
Protective husband's coming and like saving her because she's a girl and she can't do it herself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where it's kind of like, yeah, exactly. Because she's a girl and she can't do it herself. Yeah, exactly. So like you kind of need, you know, her to stand up for herself, but then that also isn't received well. So it's like, what's the answer sometimes, you know? When
totally.
Start your own practice.
Yeah, exactly. And that was the answer for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start your own practice. Yeah, love
Start
it.
your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone start your own business. What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
And Brooke, we were talking earlier before we started filming and you said something really cool that I loved, and that was true feminism is not... What did you say? Tell the quote.
So for me, I am a feminist and I think that my values around that is not about cancelling men and about like, you know, men are shit, women are the superior race. I think that for me, I just want an equal playing field for everybody. I think that that's what feminism is and should be. Because I think that both of us can bring really great value to the table. And in any organisation where I see a really healthy mix of gender, I think that really great results can be achieved, really healthy conversation can be, you know, had, and problems can be solved in different ways. Like I said, Dale and I have the exact same set of values, but we have different strengths and weaknesses. And so I really, aside, there's other factors, but I really think that that's been the key to success for us, is with what we bring as, you know, as a female and as a male, and the way that we communicate and the way that we see things has meant that we've got a really well-rounded approach to our decision making. Yeah. And I think that for me, that's what feminism is having an equal playing field for everyone.
I love it. Here's a little bit now. Something that I've witnessed here in your, is it called a firm?
Yeah.
Space.
Yeah. Firm practice space.
Collective is that you are obviously really strong on your culture among your staff. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. It's something that as a business owner, it caught me by surprise. Like, this is our responsibility. And I think going back to what Dale was saying before about me not having a voice or not having the respect, I think that was a really quick change for me. I was like, I need to be a good influence for the staff that come here, and that we're responsible for making sure that they've got a great career trajectory. They've got a happy place to work. And I think being an example for them is something that I don't take lightly. But for us, culture is everything. Like, I'm so appreciative of the team, because they not just put their, you know, faith in us to create this space, but I think putting effort into that is kind of our way of saying thank you. But also, like, I think we've learnt what bad culture from previous experience looks like, and it's just not something that I want to be a part of. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, our team are human beings first and employees second. So accommodating to what's going on outside of work, but then when they come here, we've got you know, pathways for progression. We've got team bonding. There's a seat in our office at any time when they need it. Yeah, it's really important to us. Probably you can expand on that too.
Yeah, I think the Growth Hunter boys, when they did a talk here,
I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
they said good culture isn't just throwing a pizza party on a Friday, which I think kind of sums it up for us in that, like, good culture for us is every single day. Like, you've been in the office and, I mean, the team works probably as hard, if not harder than any, you know,
110%.
previous firms we've worked at, but they also have a good time all day.
Yeah.
You know, there's constant banter, laughter, jokes, pranks, like, and so I think cultivating like a really like happy environment day to day, like, is super important. It's not just about like, all right, we're organising our monthly activity and now the firm's kind of forced to go, you know,
and coexist,
you know, out bowling, and they don't really want to be together because they don't even know each other, you know, whereas like here, everyone knows a lot about everybody else's life, what's going on in their life, the good, the bad, you know. I think having those real relationships every single day, like, is kind of what makes the culture here so special.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is really important. And I think if we think about it, we're spending, you know, a minimum 38 hours a week together and at work. It's so important for it to be a place that you want to be. And, you know, I've spent 6 months here just purely working in an office here because I wanted to be around the team. So, you know, that speaks like mountains to that and what you've created here. So it's really beautiful.
Thanks. I think also, like, when we hire people, we can teach anyone to do accounting. Like, it's you know, like, I'm not discrediting how difficult accounting is, but we can teach anyone who's applying for a job, an accounting job, how to do accounting. But what we can't teach is good personality and also like willingness to involve themselves. And so when we hire people, we hire based on personality and like in a really in vibe check, like passing the vibe check. I can't think of the right word, but I think and alignment to values. And so I think that's also for us. We've got honestly the best team. We're very lucky, but I think that's because they're really good human beings, and it makes it easy for us to, you know, want to put the time in. I enjoy spending time with the team, and that's so special because also it's not just a 9 to 5 for them, but it's a 9 to 5 for us too. But coming from previous experience, taking away the good and the bad, and I just know I don't want the challenges and I don't want the toxicity for the team that we've had to experience because, like you said, you spend the most part of your life working. I want it to be as rewarding and just happy for people when they come in here. Like I said, clients, staff, whoever. It's the most rewarding part of probably my job, I would say, is seeing them flourish and the growth I've seen in the team. Like, I get goosebumps. Like, I'm just so proud of them. And that's not something, it's a responsibility I don't take lightly at all. Like, this is their lives that we're, you know, impacting day to day. If we do that in a negative way, I just know from my own experience how hard that can be in their personal life. So,
yeah, totally. I love that. So good. What have you found with opening your own space? Obviously, there's been so many positives, and we can always talk about the good things. I'd love to hear about what the biggest challenges have been
with opening a business.
Yeah,
so many challenges.
What's the biggest fuck ups? Biggest challenges, biggest fuck ups?
Probably from the very start was not, I know this might be a bit woo woo, but not backing ourselves harder and probably giving away a part of the business that we didn't need to. Again, it's just that alignment piece. It's not that like other people do it wrong. It's just that if it doesn't fit in with the way that I think we foresee the business moving forward, and it's misaligned, I think that was a big stuff up for us in the start. And that was because, again, I didn't back us. I didn't believe in us. And so probably, one of the biggest issues I see in a lot of women in business, actually, it's this terrible imposter syndrome and not believing in yourself. That was, and I know it's not like a tangible thing, but to be honest, that's been, I think, one of our biggest stuff ups in business was, first of all, Dale surrendering to my disbelief, and I'm still so sorry for that. But I think, not backing ourselves hard enough and then bringing in the wrong people at the start. Yeah. That cost us a lot of money and I guess limited progression for us in the early days. That's probably one big challenge I would say that personally for me I've had to overcome is just
And I mean, we've obviously had this conversation as well, like when you feel like you need those, because I guess it is because you think that maybe there's something that you're missing that you can bring to the table and you feel like you need those extra hands or something you just discount or devalue what you're actually bringing to the table and then it can cause a huge amount of slowness potentially or for me it's been at sometimes it's been I've given away my freedom a little bit because you can't when you have someone else to answer to who isn't like your spouse, who isn't like literally like your other half, like your proper other half. You know, you kind of you have to match other people at their pace or in their values, their beliefs, and that can make things really challenging really quickly.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that other person's wrong as well. Like it just, I think alignment in values and the trajectory that you want to take someone at the pace you want to, take something and the pace that you want to take something. I think if there's combativeness behind the scenes on that, like it can get really messy.
Yeah.
I think also that's not to say that bringing on, say, like a business partner is wrong.
No,
of course not. I mean, I've got business partners.
Yeah.
It's probably like it's part of doing it for the right reasons. So I think one of the reasons we did that initially was for the wrong reason because, you know, we didn't still have the confidence in ourselves to do it by ourselves. We kind of thought we needed more support than what we did. But that's not to say that I'm sure we will at some stage, you know.
Yeah. One of our staff members are in the process of building her own client base to be a business partner, and I'm really excited about that because I think she'll bring a completely different set of strengths to the table. But the three of us really align, and I think what we've learned is making sure that if someone's going to come in and have a piece of the pie, but also help us push it forward in the way that we want to, you have to be aligned. Like you have to be aligned. But you can have completely different strengths, and what you bring to the table, I think, is healthy when it's completely different. But if you don't have the same mission,
love that. That's a really good one.
So if you bring on that person because you've identified a genuine weakness and not from a place of you know, lack of confidence, like genuinely just reflecting and realizing that here's an area that you've got a weakness that you need help in. I think that there's definitely a place for it, you know.
Good communication helps too.
I think good communication, that's I mean, we obviously see it a lot with clients as well. Like and clients that set those ground rules from the word go and set those expectations from the word go and have those maybe sometimes uncomfortable conversations up front are the ones that end up lasting. It's where you don't want to have the conversation up front, so you've got this friction kind of already built into the relationship and resentment already built into the relationship, and that then turns little issues into bigger issues, and that's when it, you know, the wheels fall off. You know, so
you got to set your expectations at the start and start it how you want it to continue, or even if it doesn't work out and it does, you know, finish or whatever, you want it to finish in like an amicable way, you know, kind of thing. And I guess if you haven't set those parameters right at the start and put everything into place properly, then that's when you can get yourself into trouble.
I've got another one, but do you have anything else you want to add?
No, you go.
I probably these are things we talk about all the time, but I probably think the other challenge we've had, and it's acknowledge my privilege in this, but it's been Dale and I were always the only people that would deal with clients. Like, we were a very family approach to dealing. I knew every single client that we worked with because we worked with them together. And, 18 months later, after opening a practice, we'll now have 15 staff, which is wild.
But
like,
amazing.
Who would have thought? We're knocking down the wall because we can't fit any more people in. And I think one of the challenges that keep me up at night is just making sure that the service level doesn't slip with those growing pains. It's something that I think about a lot. So for us, it's ensuring that we continue to grow at a level that we can sustain without it affecting the family approach that we have with clients. And fortunately, again, we've got accountants that are aligned. They've learnt from us and they're fantastic. Honestly, like the best on the Sunshine Coast, and the way that they deal with clients is exactly how we deal with clients. So I think that, that's been a blessing for us, but I'm conscious as to the next level is a bit scary for me, because I'm like, if we continue to grow at this pace, we just have to be conscious about coming back to our values, coming back to our mission. And it's not about a number of clients that we're helping in a certain amount of time. It's about making sure that we're impactful in every conversation and every client that we work with. At the pace we're growing, we remain the same as what we were when Dale and I were out there just, trying to, help as many people. It was just the two of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally can resonate with that as well, because particularly when you're in a town, I know Sunshine Coast isn't like a super small town, but like when you are in a community like the Sunshine Coast, and you start a business and you're providing a certain level of your personal time, and you start to grow, people still expect like you. And so you have to find, that's, something I've had as well. And you've had to find people who are just as good or better than me.
Yeah.
To be able to service people in order to be able to provide the service to more people. And I think it's like, I'd love to just quickly hear what you think about that, and how because I think it's a big topic, is actually empowering your staff or people who you're surrounded by to be as good or better than you.
Yeah. I'll have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I think something that Dale and I, like, because we've had a really great working relationship, like, I want the best for him. He's incredibly intelligent, beyond my level of scope with technicality, interpretation, and the delivery of that. And that's great. And I want people to be better than me. Ego's at the door, because like, we're never going to be able to get the best out of each other if we're not constantly challenged. And so for my staff, if they grow to be better advisors than me, great, because that means that there's more people that can continue to spread the mission and have their own unique ways that may be better than what I'm doing. So I think it's about like listening and leaving egos at the door and appreciating that people have got so much value to add. Again, if it's in alignment, like, listen. And because for me, I constantly had it. I struggle when it's an illogical approach to a no. Yeah, I constantly was told no. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? Social media, the amount of backlash I received in the last 6 to 7 years with how I use my Instagram as a bit of a personal brand, that I was immature or I was silly or, unprofessional. And I'm like, well, I'm a human being, and I think that's what people, they want, a human being that they can connect with. And I was like, well, it's working. Like, I have a lot of people who feel safe to talk to me because I'm so honest with what I talk about. And it's just interesting now. I had so much backlash with previous practices I worked with, and now I see them doing the same thing. Yeah. And so I'm like, had we have just left the ego at the door, we could have achieved some really cool things together. Yeah, totally. So super conscious of that for me. But yeah, you're probably exactly the same.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Sorry, I'm so blank. What was the actual original question?
It was
I got lost in.
We were just talking about hiring people or empowering people in your space to become as good or better than you. And there's a lot of talk around that because, well, I don't know, especially in my, not necessarily in my industry, but just the people that I talk to and stuff, it's something that comes up because I truly believe that, you know, I want people in my space and people who work for me, like if I see them doing awesome stuff and they're doing stuff in certain areas better than me, I'm actually like, yes, awesome. Actually glad that you're here. I want to find a way to like empower that more and bring it more. But there's a lot of people who feel threatened by that. And yeah, so we're just discussing that.
I think also like actively encouraging that as well. So a lot of the time people maybe are doing that and doing the right things, you know, where I've seen in other, you know, clients or other firms where like they're doing the right things but they're not quite sure whether they are, you know, actually, you know, doing a good job or doing what the firm, you know, wants them to do or expects them to do. So I think like actively actually encouraging that, you know, so anytime we see a staff member delivering like an awesome result for a client, like I know it sounds stupid, we've got a little bell
Love it.
on our wall.
I've rung it a few times.
And they go up and ring the bell, and then we explain like what they've done that's awesome, you know. So you know,
everyone celebrates that.
And everyone celebrates those wins, like you know. So I think actually actively encouraging that and showing people what they are doing right and encouraging them to keep on doing it. And a mixture of obviously like that's not financial, but like that's just showing appreciation for someone. But then also simple things like, you know, it can be a bonus or a raise or a sending someone out to dinner, or, you know, like it doesn't, there's a whole host of ways that you can show that appreciation, you know. And I think using all of them, like if you always are just giving people a bonus, well, you know, people.
Not everyone's incentivized by the same things.
Yeah.
We actually did a really funny exercise. Sorry, I've gone completely off topic. But we we asked everybody, and because when we became like leaders of a team, like it was a huge responsibility, and I wanted to make sure everyone felt heard and felt appreciated. And so we asked everyone what their love languages were. And that's been a really great exercise, and one I would recommend. Like, I don't know if it's love languages that you don't necessarily have to, but appreciation languages.
Yeah.
And every single person in our team receives that differently. So the way in which we celebrate every single person is different, because I want when I want one of them to feel like understand that they've genuinely done such a great job and we're really proud and we're really appreciative. Like compensation can come through language, it can come through tangible things, it can come through
touch, but
pat on the back.
That's probably one that we leave.
That's not my love language.
We all know that you're
I'm
not a
hugger. But I think as well, like acknowledging that like we don't have all the answers, and that just, that communication style through tangible, non-tangible things, I think is really important with good culture too, because we understand them a bit more deeper than maybe, you know, Joe Blogs around the corner.
Yeah, sure.
Would, yeah.
All right. Well, to wrap up today, I would love to get like a couple of tips on anyone who's thinking of starting a business or in the early stage of business or in a business that you're legally allowed to give.
Yeah.
You know, just,
As in like what we would suggest if someone was starting a business?
Or like but maybe like questions that you hear frequently that you kind of like think would be valuable for someone listening to this podcast.
There's so much. How long have we got? Maybe you go first.
Yeah, probably. So if you start right at the start, someone opening a fresh new business or a fresh new company, like probably the biggest issue that people have initially is like cash flow and saving for tax, GST. If they've got staff, their staff tax. So I'd say getting that sorted from the word go is super important. I've seen people who, say a tradie, for example, where they've always been on wages, then suddenly have an ABN and their own company. And so they're getting a lot more money, and then 9 months down the track, they've been excited because it's, they've got so much more money in the bank account, they go and blow it on a jet ski or holiday or whatever, and then suddenly, they're now 40, 50 grand behind with the ATO.
Yeah.
And that's such a hard hole to climb out of.
Yeah.
So getting on top of that from the word go, I think is super important to a healthy business. Making sure you know how much to set aside for your GST, your income tax, your staff wages, your own wages, your own super, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's something really important. A lot of people want to dig their head in the sand.
Some people just freak out when it comes to money, and then they just like, well, I'm just going to avoid this. And then it becomes a big problem.
Yeah, and it doesn't help. Digging your head in the sand and wanting to avoid it doesn't help. You still have the same problem. You just you're kicking the can down the road for another, 9 months, 12 months, and then you've got a bigger issue, down the track. So, even if, say, your business isn't as profitable as what you want, or you need X amount to survive, and so you can't put that money aside for tax at that particular time, at least knowing what your situation is, and knowing where you need to get to is in itself, it might sound a bit wishy-washy, but just kind of actually going through the exercise of knowing how much money you do need to earn, you kind of end up manifesting your way there. Like as I don't know, I'm not super.
No, I feel like I'm like, I always kind of preach that without crossing the line of preaching that I'm an accountant by any means, but I always say to my clients, like, you need to know how many clients you need in order to pay yourself, pay the bills.
Yeah.
Otherwise, where are you actually shooting for? You've got to know what you're shooting for.
You need to know your numbers.
Yeah.
Know your numbers, yeah.
I think that's important in any business, irrespective of your goals.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard mentally as well to climb out of a hole. And that's stuff that we do with clients all the time. And I'm doing a lot of meaningful work this year. I think the COVID hangover is done and people are really excited about expansion and investing back into their business for growth, or buying and acquiring a property, or acquiring another business. And so we're doing some, really exciting projects, and the amount of interest we've gotten in our forecasting services that's my favorite thing to do. So I'm so lit up at the moment. It's because what I see is when I do the 12-month plan, where we know, if your goal is X, well, how do we get there? And we build that roadmap, and it's an accountability tool then. Some of the stuff I'm seeing clients do when they're actually excited and understand their income targets, the breakdown of what that income even means, their expenses, so the budgets that we set for their expenses, when they're achieving that and tracking that in Xero with our program we do, it's so cool. I love getting the little screenshots from clients going, oh my gosh, look at what I just, sales this week, or look at how many views I've just had on my Instagram reels, or, just random things, because it's not just about numbers. We talk about the actual roadmap behind the scenes, operationally, marketing, all of that. So there's so much to knowing your numbers, but I think, having someone in your corner helping you understand and interpret that is
and break
incredible.
it down and make it not overwhelming.
And not treating, say, if you're doing a budget, I think people have this stigma around budgets, probably from personal budgets, it's all about cost cutting and
chicken and broccoli diet.
And it's this
no one likes that.
This big stick that you hit them with if they don't hit their targets. Whereas it's more of a conversation starter, and it's well, this is what we mapped out for your budget, and you haven't hit it because of X, Y, and Z. Let's reflect on what went well, what didn't go well. Is it actually not an issue because yes, you maybe sales were less than what you wanted them to be, but your actual profitability was up because you're selling a more profitable product, or like
spending less
so it isn't
on the business.
Yeah, I think people can get stressed about it being, if I don't hit these targets, I'm going to be in trouble. Whereas it's not about that at all. It's actually about using that as your starting point to figure out, how to improve from there. It's just about reflecting.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's probably like, if it's not your accountant that you're working with on that, having someone to talk to in business, because it can be really lonely if you're running it solo. A lot of people come in. I have tissues regularly because it's 50% accounting and business advisory and 50% therapy sometimes, because it's so lonely and there's no one, if you're running it by yourself, no one for you to comfortably talk to because they don't get the figures, they don't understand the struggles behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I've got Dale, so we get to like communicate the struggles in our own office or at home. But I think, having someone that you can, if you're running it solo, having someone that you can talk to.
Yeah.
Because I see when people unravel these like insecurities or they're a blockage because they can't speak it out, once they've left and they've had this like weight off their shoulders, someone to like, there's no such thing as a silly question, but some of the questions are just, they just don't have someone to communicate with. They're like, I just answered that myself.
Yeah.
I think having someone in business to be able to connect with, whether that's a business partner, a coach, an advisor, an accountant, somebody in your corner that you can problem solve with and bounce ideas off. I know that does not seem like crazy strategic advice, but I think that is like one of the biggest, I guess.
I think it's...
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely sorry, Dale, I can definitely attest to that because obviously you guys have been like that, one of those people for me personally, where it's like, am I just gaslighting myself and going crazy? Like, or am I in the wrong here? Not in the wrong, but like, do you know what I mean? It's like going, okay, well, like from just like a outsider point of view, like how would you see the situation? How would you suggest going about it? Am I being like, I don't know, greedy or or, and I feel like that is such a powerful thing to have, is that voice of reason that's going, okay, let's look at it from this perspective. Let's look at it from this perspective, and kind of like bringing it all together from like a very voice of reason point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, I think we'll have to wrap it up because I know you have a time. You've got important things to do. But is there anything you would like to add before we finish up today that I haven't asked? I know that there's probably like 1,000 things we'll have to get you back on, but anything that I haven't touched on that I'd like to add that they are expanding. Like they said, they're knocking down the wall and expanding, which is great news for me because I regularly co-work here. It means that I can have more space. But is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, not really. Apart from just like to anyone listening, like if you've got an idea, go for it. What's the worst that can happen?
Love it. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for taking your time on a Monday morning to chat to me and to bring all the little gold nuggies and start the conversation about money, because I think that money can be not – obviously we've actually spoken about things that are maybe harder to talk about than money, but I feel like we all start businesses to make money, and obviously there's other values and reasons to start a business which need to be met as well. But I think that people are afraid to say that they want to make money, and I think it's important to admit that it is like important.
Yeah. 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I just said?
Well, it's also about what the money represents as well. Like, so for some people, it's like they just want to make as much money as possible just because, and that's like
very small percent of people though, actually, really, don't you think?
A lot of people, and even for us, probably maybe speaking on your behalf, but like for us, obviously we want to be profitable more to give ourselves the freedom and time that we want to have with each other and our family, So that's kind of what money represents. Yeah, to us,
your lifestyle and
looking after our family as well.
Yeah.
Like that's probably my biggest motivation is making sure there's enough a nest egg
Yeah.
if I need to help my family.
Yeah.
That's probably
Yeah.
like my underlying driver.
Yeah. I love it.
Mm.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for
No
coming
worries.
on. Really appreciate it. And yeah, all of Brooke and Dale's details will be in the show notes. And yeah, that's a wrap.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Abby.
No worries.